In Canvas, you can create quizzes. Quizzes can be exams, tests, etc. You simply go to Quizzes on the left-hand navigation for your course, and then you hit Plus Quiz. When you do that, currently we have options for a classic quiz and a new quiz. This time we're going to take a look at classic quizzes. As we look at that, you click on classic quizzes. You have an option for remember my choice for this course. That will mean that it will always assume that that's what you want. You can turn that option off later if you'd like. So go ahead and hit submit, and you name the quiz. You give information. This, understand, is what they're going to see, what the students are going to see about the quiz. So this can be instructions. If it was a Proctorio quiz, you could have what they should do, the steps they should go through to make sure Proctorio is working. If this is a multiple choice quiz, if this was on particular chapters, whatever that is, that's the type of thing to put in here in that description. So the quiz type that you choose, you have an option for a practice quiz. You have the option for a graded quiz, which is what we're going to do. You have graded survey and ungraded survey. So practice quiz allows them to practice. You can allow them to take the quiz as many times as you want anyway, but this gives them practice. Not usually considered for points. Maybe it doesn't show up in the grade book at all. Graded survey is where it's a survey. So if they answer the question, they get a point. Whatever they answer, doesn't matter. There is no right or wrong. And ungraded survey means that it's just something that's out there and they can do it or not do it at their discretion. So for today, for this time, I'm going to do a graded quiz. The assignment group I'm going to put it in is a quiz. And then I've got a couple of options. First of all, shuffle answers. If you're going to use multiple choice, then you want to shuffle answers. That will just make it so that the answers show up in a different order for each student. You do have to be careful. If you use an all of the above or something like that, it doesn't work very well when you do the shuffle answers. But for the most part, shuffle answers is a great way to handle a little bit of mixing it up and having questions show up the way it makes sense for your students. Time limit. You do not have to provide a time limit for a classic quiz, but you can provide a time limit. If it's a quiz, maybe it's 10 minutes long. You have an option for allowing multiple attempts. If you do, which score do you want to keep? The highest, latest, or the average of the scores? And how many attempts do you want to allow? For the most part, people don't allow multiple attempts on quizzes. But this is completely up to you. And there are, by the way, are specific reasons why you would want to allow multiple attempts on a quiz. So don't just write it off as no, you never do that. That's information for you to make your own decision. Letting students see their quiz responses. There's a couple of different options with regard to that. A lot of times recommend don't show them the responses until after everybody has taken the quiz. That way you don't get somebody who takes the quiz early and then can let everybody else know that, hey, these are the questions and these are the responses. This is what I got wrong. It won't tell them what are correct unless it has crossed this correct answers date. So you can also choose to only allow them once after each attempt. So a lot of times what people will do is they will not have this marked, and then once everybody has submitted the quiz, then they check this, and that allows the students to then look at the quiz later and see what the correct answers were, stuff like that. So often people will have that not selected. The next one, show one question at a time, is a really nice option for essays. So they see one essay question, they answer that essay question, they hit next, and they go to the next one. And it's one at a time. If, on the other hand, you're doing multiple choice, that can get really annoying. There are reasons to do it. Some people choose to do this so that the students will go through and one page at a time, especially if they're doing Proctorio or something like that, where it's monitoring them. This is a nice way to make sure that each step has been monitored as they go through. The question about locking questions after answering. What that means is once they've answered it, they cannot go back and review, answer the question again, anything like that. This only comes up on the show one question at a time. And so you do want to understand what that is. So if they've answered the question, they can't go back and review it and change their answer at all if you have that marked. Require an access code. There's a couple of reasons to require an access code. One, and I know I keep mentioning Proctorio, there will be another video on Proctorio, but Proctorio will automatically use an access code. You can use an access code. Let's say you want to have a quiz, but you only want the people in your classroom to take it. You can go ahead and set up an access code. Everybody else who tries to take it is going to be prompted for an access code. In your class, you can then click on, you can give the students the access code that you want them to have, and when they're done, they that quiz goes away, especially after 10 minutes or whatever that is. So it can go really quickly. Access code can be a nice use inside the classroom, but you also, outside the classroom, wouldn't get that unless somebody sent them that code. Filter IP addresses. I have yet to find a good use for this. Could be done to where you try to make sure everybody is on campus when they're taking it, but other than that, there doesn't seem to be a really good use for that in at IVC as we're doing this. Assign area. So this is exactly like you see the assign that we've talked about in the past. Assignments, quizzes, discussions, they all use that same assign area. You can give students extra time, all of that stuff based in this area here. So what I'm going to do now, I like to save it before I get onto the next screen and enter the quizzes, the questions. But so here's what this quiz looks like at the moment. I can hit edit, and now I can start entering questions. So we'll get into question banks in another video, but this is where you can enter questions. You can create a question group, which can pull from question banks. And then there's an ability to find questions in your question area. So first thing I'm going to do is a new question. I have options for what types of questions I want to ask. Notice this bottom one is text no question. So let's say you want to tell the students this part is on chapter 1, this part is on chapter 2. That could be a text no question. Then you put the questions that you want underneath that text no question. Again, thinking back to the one page at a time, you don't necessarily want to use the text no question when you're doing a one page at a time. So here I'm going to go ahead, true, false. And is it true or is it false? So there's a couple of options in this, for particularly for true false is really nice for that. And you can choose which one you want to do. So true, for instance, is marked there. If it's false, I simply click on the arrow in front of that. What you can do is select the box, and now you can type in a response. If they mark true and you let them view their responses later, what do you want them to know? And so I can select that and done. And so for false, I can say even the same thing, something like that. You do not have to put notes in here, but sometimes that can be nice, especially when a student is guessing or something like that, to just remind them what it is. Down at the bottom are 3 other options. So if they answered it correct, here are the comments that you want to give. If they answered it incorrectly, this is the comments you want to give. And this last one is just general comments that you want to provide. On a true-false question, those don't necessarily make as much sense, but if you have a question that might be multiple answer or something like that, maybe you want to put something in there. When you are done with any question, you must hit Update Question. If you only hit Save, you will not save those questions. You must hit Update Question. So the next thing I want to show you is a question group. Here, pick how many questions and how many points per question. So I can link to a question bank. We will do that another time. Instead, I'm going to create a group and add questions to the group. So here, question, and I'm going to pick multiple choice. And I'm going to scroll up here to see what it says for the name of the class. And notice it said IVC Fall 2022 Example Shell. That's the correct answer. A false answer. And you see I've used that before. I can hit Add Another Answer. Etc. And when I'm done, I need to hit Update Question. I can now add another question. Maybe it's true, false. And update question. Maybe another one. And notice it automatically chooses the first option as correct. So if I want to change that, I have to click on something else and mark that as correct. Add another answer. And I'm going to go ahead and add that. So now notice this is 1 point for this question. I'm going to pick one of these questions and pull in 1 point. So if I count right, that would be 2. I'm going to hit Save and Publish here. And you're going to see that it says that this is 2 points. If I click on Preview here, it shows me what that's going to be. These are the 2 questions that this particular person would have. I'm going to hit Keep Editing, and I can make any other changes I want. Again, hit Save. And this is how you create a classic quiz in Canvas.